There is nothing more annoying than being a vocalist that is trying to hear themselves properly as they're tracking. And when you punch yourself up, ready to record, hop in the vocal booth, and the vocal doesn't sound like how you hear it in your head, your confidence drops almost instantly. You stop having such a positive vibe, and by the time the engineer fixes it or gets it right halfway through the song, you already feel defeated. Well, don't worry, my friends, because by the end of this video, you'll be one step closer to having the perfect vocal mix in your headphones. Should probably hold some headphones when I do this, right? Yeah. These ones are pretty good. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and I just want to say I have been in your shoes a million times before, on both sides, being the artist and being the engineer, and if monitoring is not perfect, then you're both in for a bad time. I'll be going at this video with the thought of someone being recorded, but if you're a solo artist, curious about your monitoring, follow along because most of these applications will help put you on the right path as well. And that goes for guitarists and bassists too. I mean, all of these tips apply. If you're a recording engineer, you've hopefully heard this sentence at least once in your life. Yo, whatever setting you have in my headphones right now, save it. This sounds perfect. And we want to achieve that same sentence every time that we go to record. So let's hop into it. Number one. You aren't hearing what the vocalist is hearing. This is a pretty common occurrence when you aren't using headphones in the studio and tend to always mix in your monitors and don't use headphones as a reference. But here's a big suggestion to you. Buy 2 pairs of identical headphones. I'm not saying that they need to cost $1 million or anything. Just grab something that's decent. Shameless plug, Rode, usually known for their microphones, just came out with these new headphones, and I went and picked up a pair, and I want to say they sound fantastic. Accidentally mixed a whole song and forgot I wasn't using my typical Focal headphones, so just wanted to let you guys know about those. But the reason I say to have multiples is because while the artist is doing a mic check, you want to make sure that they aren't being drowned out by the song and that they're loud enough. What happens in this scenario is the artist will strain their voice trying to be louder to push over the music, and the fatigue starts to happen due to this, and it's not helpful to your session at all, especially if the artist is doing a ton of singing and has multiple days booked in a row. And if it's someone's first few times recording, the reality is they might not even know how it's supposed to sound. So take a listen at equal volume from both of the headphone sends. Also make sure they aren't blasting music in their ears if they don't know what they're doing. This actually can alter the way that artists sing in a negative way because their ears get fatigued and they can't distinguish pitch as well. Singer here, I can verify that's actually a thing. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you what I like my monitoring level to be at when I'm listening back to my vocals. This is pretty much my chain without having like echo on or something. It would be more like this, but who wants to hear me talk like that? Nobody. So I'm going to turn the vocal buzz down and then sing a part to a song by Conquer Divide live and show you how I would monitor myself. Let's go.
Know me better than me, and you love it when I'm paralyzed. You know it's irresponsible to pretend it's a favor, to let someone else pull the trigger.
So, you know, something kind of like that. 2. Getting latency under control. You have no idea how many times I've seen this problem happen in studios big and small. The vocalist has really bad timing throughout the whole session. It's one of their first few times in the studio and you think it's due to lack of experience and or practice. Then you go to check out the mix levels and there's latency happening in the headphones. It might feel like it's only behind a split second, but that is enough to be entirely distracting to a person that's trying to record. So unless you're on a new Mac tower, my advice is to always bounce down the song or instrumental into a stereo track, put it in a new session, and use plugins that aren't very CPU intensive. Howard Benson Vocals is usually my go-to for this because it's an all-in-one vocal chain that doesn't bog down my computer. If you're recording with Auto-Tune, I suggest using Auto-Tune EFX because it seems to have the least latency of the bunch. Avoid any formant adjustments while tracking unless it's absolutely necessary. And by this point, your vocal levels should be solid and you should be hearing everything back in time. On to the third thing, a well-equipped vocal chain. And all I mean by this is to have a vocal chain setup that has all the things that one would need to hear themselves properly. Compression, EQ, saturation, widener, de-esser, delay, reverb, etc. Like I said, I use Howard Benson Vocals because it has those things all in one. But feel free to use whatever you guys use. Well, you know, whatever works best for you. We want to compress the vocals to make sure it's consistent for the listener, EQ the vocals to make sure it sits right in the song, and to help out with that, we actually have a vocal EQ guide that you can download in the description below. That's absolutely free. But one thing I always find an issue with the monitoring mix is the vocals are either too wet or too dry. And this is up to you as an engineer to understand what the ambience of the song is and find something to match it. To get the delay right, simply use the head bob test, you know? The song's like, this is how I feel this. Like you can do that kind of thing until you figure it out. Usually things are an eighth or a quarter most of the time, unless you want more of a slapback style delay. With reverb, pay attention to the song, like I said, and notice how dry or wet the track is to match it. This will not be a one-size-fits-all scenario. So no matter what kind of recording you're doing for vocals, you're gonna need a chain similar to this, right? We're gonna start with compression. You know, we got some saturation here, a de-esser, and EQ. Gave me a nice little lift there. Some width is helping out a bit. Of course, delay. And some reverb. Maybe that's a bit much. And pause that song.
If I didn't know better, I thought at least you were on my mind.
You know what I'm saying? 4, we have to get into proper routing. This is going to be different for every single DAW, but now that you have everything set up, you'll notice that the adjustments that the person being tracked wants to make don't line up with what you want to hear. And this is really common. We don't have the same ears, so it only makes sense that we're going to hear things differently, right? One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give when recording singers is to realize very quickly whether or not they like using autotune while tracking or not. If they don't, but you like to hear it while tracking or vice versa, the simple fix for this is just route different mixes for yourself and for the person that's recording. There are a million ways to do this, but since we're talking about hearing the tracks with effects, simply take the armed recording track, mute it, send it to 2 separate tracks, make the output of one of those go to their headphones and one of those go to your headphones. And that way you never have to worry about this issue again. And if you need to go back to hear what they're hearing, you can with the same headphone setup that they have. This should alleviate all issues your vocalist may be having with their monitoring. So let's go over all of these one more time. Hearing what the vocalist is hearing. Getting latency under control. A well-equipped vocal chain, proper routing. With these steps under your belt, you are really going to make it a breeze for yourself and or whoever you are working with. To get proper takes, we have to be sure that we can hear ourselves properly and that when we do hear ourselves, it's in a pleasing way that makes you want to give your best performance. And the crazy part about it is even people in pro studios make these mistakes. It's easy to forget the basics sometimes, but I will always do my best to be that reminder in the back of your head that keeps you going on the right path. Have you experienced any of these issues in the past? Do you think that this will help you achieve your perfect vocal monitoring? Leave it down in the comments below and I will chat with you guys like I always do. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I am out of here. Mic drop. Except as engineers we know, I'd never really drop this thing, because that get really expensive, even if it is a piece of sure. Later.